Okay, James. So now we're going to discuss reincarnation.
All right. Now, you made a post a couple of days ago, which people gave you a little bit of grief about,
Mhm.
and they said the Urantia book says there is no reincarnation. Okay. When I first got to that part of the book, and I read that, I had a little bit of a difficult time with that because I always felt that reincarnation made some sort of sense. But like anything else, you can't pick and choose what you like about the Bible if you're going to say that it's the Word of God. So if I'm going to believe that this is the fifth epochal revelation, then I can't, by my own choosing, decide which part of the revelations I think is true and which part of the revelation I thought is false. So I spent a lot of time, and I've talked with a lot of longtime readers about this very issue. And if you read the section on the thought adjusters, one thing that you will be able to pick up on that does make sense is that while the book says that we never come back to the planet of our origin in the material sense, it makes sense because we are born in the material body. And once that material body is born, we then develop, or we are given a soul, a spiritual soul. So once that is born, there is no reason to have another physical reincarnation.
Wait a minute. I don't understand. You said,
In order for a soul to begin its journey, it must have a physical body as its starting point.
okay, and I agree with that because
So
if you go all the way back to Lemuria, remember I went back through Egypt, back farther through Atlantis, back farther through Lemuria, back farther through Mu. And back then, that land was inhabited, but it was just us as beings. It wasn't actual physical bodies because we didn't have any physical bodies to fill yet at that point.
well,
Earthly vehicles.
let's just start from scratch. Let's just think of the human body as the embryo of a soul.
Okay.
All right, so now we have a human body and we develop a soul. And the whole purpose of that soul is to lead us back to the Father.
Okay. I agree with that.
All right. So when we die here, we give away this body. How far have you read into the book? I'm just curious.
I've read all throughout the book, but
All
I
right.
haven't read straight through the book because I've been in so many groups that we just start everywhere.
Yeah. All right.
But I did the Jesus papers.
Okay. So have you done the Morancha worlds?
Yes, I kind of understand the Morancha worlds and where we go when the soul first leaves, we have a 9-day period and then we'll start university.
Okay, so here's the point, and this is where the problem comes with reincarnation. Reincarnation is the belief that we leave this physical body, we die, and then we are that same soul that was us comes back and inhabits another physical body on this planet. That's reincarnation.
Okay, and if you look in the Bible, I think Job 38, they compare us all to the morning stars.
Yeah, okay, but let's just follow this a little bit closer because it really comes down to concepts. And remember that when the Celestials brought the book, they said one of the most difficult processes for them was to provide advanced concepts in a rudimentary English language. So we only need to be born once in a physical body. As we leave this physical body, our personality, our soul, our thought adjuster are all reunited in the Morancha form on the first mansion world.
Mm-hmm.
And on every world after that. So it would be like saying, Jada, we're sending you to first grade because we want you to begin an education. And when you complete first grade, we're going to let you be promoted to first grade. In other words, there is no point in sending you to first grade, teaching you everything you need to learn in first grade, and then promoting you to first grade. So,
right. There's also those situations if you don't get what you're supposed to learn in that grade, you come back. Or if you
nope, let me cut you off there.
Okay.
If you read into the Morancha life and you read into the mansion worlds, the mansion world number 1 and mansion world number 2 have a definite purpose. And that purpose is the correction of all human deficiencies.
Hmm.
So any human deficiencies that you have and you leave this planet with, because it makes it very clear that when you die here and when you wake up there, you're at the exact same place you were when you left here, spiritually. Okay? So
Okay.
Mansion World number 1 and Mansion World number 2, that is the main purpose and goal of those two Mansion Worlds, is to take care of any deficiencies that you had here. So there's no point in sending you back to Earth to make you struggle and suffer again, because Mansion World number 1 and Mansion World number 2 are going to take care of those issues for you. And you're going to have a Urantia companion, a mentor, to do it with you. So go back and read that. You'll see very clearly. So the difference between reincarnation and incarnation is that reincarnation means you go back and do the same damn thing over in a different body, which doesn't make a lot of sense. And incarnate means to inhabit a new form. So when you wake up on Mansion World number 1, you will be provided with a new Urantia body, which will be reunited with your personality, your thought adjuster, and your soul. So here's what I had to take a long time to think about. I know that there are many documentations of people speaking in foreign tongues in times when they couldn't have possibly lived. But when you read the section on the thought adjuster, one thing that you can discover is that just because you, Jada, had a thought adjuster, let's say that you choose not to go on, all right? For some reason, you just choose. You're an evil person, you're a bad person. You make the choice to go on. Well, your thought adjuster doesn't die. Your thought adjuster always will be. But your
So
thought,
does the thought adjuster go back to source?
yep, but it also can come back and be reused again. So
So
let's,
basically, it's just reincarnation, just a tricky kind of way.
well, yeah, because even though your thought adjuster might inhabit a new person called Joe Smith 2,000
Right.
years from now, okay? That doesn't mean that your memory patterns was erased from that thought adjuster. So Joe Smith from time to time might get a flash in his mind of a time in 2016 of a young woman of color living
Mm-hmm.
in the South. And he has no idea why that flash came into his mind. And all that was just a moment that he was touched with his thought adjuster, and he touched his thought adjuster's memory. So that could explain why people in the 20th century could be talking in a language from the 14th century from a country that they had no way of knowing about. So it really isn't a matter of reincarnation. It's a matter of the incarnation that you are in touch with. And on those rare occasions when a thought adjuster is reused, that's how I believe that phenomena occurs.
So we will agree that when that thought adjuster is reused, that would be a reincarnation into another human vehicle.
Right, except that it isn't, except that Joe Smith is not you.
Right. And just like when you read Edgar Casey, that's how this whole conversation even came about. Because you know what? When I made that post, I never made that post. People just automatically assumed, and the first thing they started commenting on was reincarnation.
Yeah, because that's what most people think about with Edgar Casey.
Right.
But
But you
if
know
you
what?
think about it, doesn't it make more sense to be born once and then go to first grade, second grade, third grade, fourth grade, fifth grade until you finally get to your PhD?
That makes perfect sense to me. But I feel like it makes a lot of sense too that a lot of the thought adjusters are recycled. We'll use that word, even though I don't know if that's even the appropriate word. But thought adjusters are recycled back through to inhabit another body, which makes so much sense, because only thing I don't really understand, James, is karma or our situation. Why are some people born with so much strife, or some people are born like everything's just handed to them? I just
Okay.
feel like that has to be a karmic, something to do with our karmic soul or
Okay.
something, because that doesn't make sense. How?
Okay. Well, first of all, I sent you a disc, I believe, called Seed of the Soul. Right?
Okay, I didn't see that one yet because I just got done reading.
Okay. Well, okay. But my point is that each and every one of us, before we come here, there is some sort of predestiny that's given to us, some form of predestiny. It doesn't mean we're going to achieve it. It doesn't mean we're going to do it. But every human being that's ever born has a positive potential. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that positive potential is directly affected by where you're born, the genetic makeup of your parents, their predispositions and their attitudes, and your environmental surroundings. All of those things are going to affect your potential. Now, for instance, let me give you an example. You're a smart woman, but look at your life situation. Had you been born to an educated father and an educated mother of middle class to upper middle class status, would your life be different?
Mm-hmm. I'm assuming.
Oh, it would be real different, okay?
Right.
And my life would be very different if I had been born into a man and a woman who actually liked each other.
Right.
Okay? So we're all born with positive energy. We're all born with a positive potential. The thing of karma is, in the universe, as you said, like is attracted to like. You know, right? Opposites can attract. There's all these different things going on. But everything that I do today, while it may not affect you directly, affects somebody in a like, let me give you an example. I'm going to go out an hour from now and I'm going to drive up to the hot dog stand. All right. And in the course of driving to the hot dog stand, I may decide to go back and get a jacket because it's cool out today.
Right.
But what if I hadn't decided to get the jacket? And what if I had left 30 seconds earlier and had been involved in an auto accident where I crippled you? Okay, so my point is, we're making decisions all the time, which we think has no effect on anyone but ourselves. But every thought and every decision that we make at every given moment has an effect on someone. And that's where this law of karma comes from. You do enough good things, and more good things are going to come to you. You do enough.
So how are some kids born in this world coming in sick?
Because that's genetics. It's just shit happens. As the Urantia book says,
Do you think it's that simple?
it is that simple. It is that simple. I mean, you know, you look at the genetics, it makes up a human being. Do you know how many million things have to work to make a human being even function?
Right.
Have you ever thought about what it takes for you to hear me?
I know. I did the whole thing on the body.
Okay.
It's just what it takes for us just to breathe and just to eat and digest and all the stuff our body is resistant to. And it's just amazing.
And all that's done in your subconscious.
Right.
Okay. So the whole thing of karma is basically the law of the universe. I mean, there is a absolute cohesive thing going on. We are all part of a big thing with massive over control. The one thing that makes a difference in all that massive over control is free will. And, you know, so when you talk about karma, a lot of the karma that we're suffering, a lot of the hardships we're suffering here on Earth is because we had an isolated planet because of an isolated rebellion. There's only been 3 of them in the history of all the universes. There's only been 3 rebellions. So our planet is isolated. Our planetary prince defaulted. Our material son and daughter defaulted. And we murdered Jesus Christ. I mean, so we have a lot of karmic negatives going for us. But the other thing is, if you get a chance to listen to Seed of the Soul, and this guy, he was he's an ex-Army Green Beret.
Let's see what you meant. You sent that as a CD disc to me?
I'm pretty sure I did.
Let me see, because I have all your discs right here you sent me.
Yeah, I think you sent 4 or 5.
History of the Bible, Thrive. Yep, you sent it. Seed of the Soul.
Okay, listen to that, and it explains everything. Now,
Okay.
So basically, the whole thing about karma, I mean, I don't put a whole lot into karma. I know it exists. It's an energy pattern. I get it. But to sit and worry about karma and saying, well, I'm not going to do this today, or I'm not going to do that today. I just want to go out and create a bunch of positive karma. Well, you know, you shouldn't have to be thinking about creating positive karma. You should just be doing it.
Right.
And you know how they say that, you know, faith through Jesus Christ alone, not by good deeds. You can do all the good deeds in the world, and my wife has a problem with this, and let me explain it to you. My wife is like the kindest, sweetest person. Even people who originally meet her who for some reason just don't like the way she looks, or there's just something about her that I don't like that woman. Well, within a month or two, they love her. She's just one of those sweet people. She'll do anything for anybody. However, she has one catch. If she does something kind for you, and you don't thank her for it, she gets upset. Now, here's the deal, and I've tried to explain it to you. I say to her, Cindy, if you are doing something of kindness or goodness for someone, are you doing it so that you get recognition and accolades and a thank you? Or are you doing it because you genuinely want to do this for the person because that's what you feel you want to do in your heart? And she says, yeah, that's why I'm doing it. I said, okay, then why do you need a thank you? Well, because that's what people are supposed to do when you help them. No, that's what our society and etiquette has said that people are supposed to do. But do you think that Mother Teresa went and served all those poor children and all those sick people and made each and every one of them say, thank you, Mother Teresa, thank you, Mother Teresa? No, they didn't. She just did out of her heart what she needed to do for them. And she didn't expect to become famous. She didn't expect to become rich. And that's what we're all expected to do. If I do something for you and you don't thank me, that doesn't offend me at all.
Right.
Because I didn't do it for a thank you. And I didn't do it so somebody could say, oh, that James John, he's really a smart guy. That's not why we're supposed to do things. And when we realize that we are all just part of a big cosmic ocean, you're a drop of water, I'm a drop of water, but we're all a drop of water from the same ocean. And that's how we're supposed to see everybody. But I wanted to address that thing of reincarnation for you, because reincarnation is something that is built into a lot of religions. It's built into a lot of belief systems, such as Hinduism and Buddhism. And, you know, it's just a misconception of our incarnations, because Urantia book readers are the only people who are privy to the fact that we have multiple incarnations.
Well, see, you really just cleared it all up because, well, first of all, let me say this. I found a thing yesterday I posted on my Facebook, and it says, you are not a drop in the ocean. You are the entire ocean in a drop.
Yeah, you are. And let me share this with you, because as a young adult, when I was probably 12 or 13 or 11 or somewhere in that area, I had a concept that if I took a microscope and I looked at my skin and I could see the cells of my skin, and then if I took another stronger microscope and was able to look into those cells, I could see the atomic structure. And then if I looked further at the atomic structure, I could see an entire universe. So that's the concept that we're getting from. We are all a big part of this whole thing, and we each are just one small part, and we're being coordinated by forces that we don't even understand.
Mm-hmm.
But we try to take, you know, most humans believe that we live a good life, and if we live a good life, we are fortunate and we get to go to heaven. So basically a one-step program. We're going to send you to first grade, and we're going to graduate you with a PhD in God knows what, divinity. But it's not that simple. The Urantia book makes it clear that we have approximately 570 incarnations. Some have less than others, because somebody like a Mahatma Gandhi will leave this planet and probably go to Mansion World number 3. He's got no deficiencies. So he can skip, you know, Mansion World 1 and Mansion World 2. And so this is where this whole thing with reincarnation is, and you'll get so many Urantia book readers that, you know, they don't accept reincarnation because they know we're going to incarnate, not reincarnate.
And I agree with that 100%. But it makes perfectly sense to me that if I don't use the word reincarnation, if our thought adjuster, if we choose not to move on and our thought adjuster is recycled back out, that is basically could be considered a reincarnation. So it's just really a word game, but it's the same thing.
But for the thought adjuster, it's a reincarnation. For the thought adjuster.
And the thought adjuster is the soul, the divine spark that we have.
Well, it's not exactly the soul.
So it's not the soul.
No, the soul is basically your personality and spirit form. Your attributes, your personality attributes is your soul. Your thought adjuster, think of your thought adjuster as your guide. Your conscience. Remember Jiminy Cricket in Pinocchio?
Right.
All right, think of Jiminy Cricket sitting over here, and your soul is existing inside your heart as a spiritual entity. And as your spiritual entity is functioning and growing, Jiminy Cricket every once in a while gives you a little nudge, yes or no.
Because to me, the thought adjuster is just like you said, the consciousness.
Well, no, your thought adjuster is an entity. It's
So
its own entity. It's not you. Your personality, your soul is you. Your thought adjuster is your father fragment, that part of God that lives inside of you.
the divine spirit, the divine spark.
Correct. And it's always trying to urge you. And the book also says, if you remember, and after you read it many times, listen, I've read the book probably cover to cover no less than 6 times, no
Oh
less
my
than.
gosh.
And some papers over and over. And each time you read, and especially with a group, something hits you. You know, something hits you. So imagine that you are a material body that has an eternal soul, that has a personality that is unique to all another personalities who have lived, are living now, or ever will live. And not only do you have all that, but now you have a conscience, a thought adjuster, a father fragment who is there to guide you and connect you to the Father. So you're made up of so many different components. And when this physical body dies, it's the only thing that gets left behind. Your thought adjuster is safely storing your information. Your seraphic guardian angel is storing your information, and your personality and your soul is being guarded until you awaken again on Mansion World number 1. And when that happens, you will be provided with a new body, which will eat, okay, and drink if you choose. But your thought adjuster will come back. Your personality and your soul will all be reunited in that Urantia body. And in each and every incarnation going forward, they will always be you. You
That
won't look
makes
like you.
perfect sense.
Yeah, you won't look like you.
Well, I thought we still looked like us, just better, no blemishes.
Well, okay, just think of it from this point of view. The apostles and the women's corps spent a couple of years with Jesus. Did you read the Urantia appearances?
When he came back, when he resurrected?
Yeah.
And they didn't notice him at first, but then they did?
Oh, no, it didn't say they didn't notice him. It said they didn't recognize him.
Yeah, they did. Well, she didn't recognize him at first, but then she did.
But she didn't recognize him until he spoke, Mary.
Okay.
You see, he was in a different physical form. He did not look like Jesus of Nazareth. He was now in a Urantia body. So even though there was a figure standing in front of them, he did not look like Jesus of Nazareth any longer. So yeah, we're going to get a different body. And I had a conversation with a woman that I read with every Wednesday, and she's a long-time UB activist. And we were discussing just this very thing of what we'll look like. And the point is, we won't need to worry what we look like. We could all look like little gray things, because we're not going to recognize each other by what we look like. We're going to recognize each other by our frequencies, our personalities. So,
and I always tell my kids we'll recognize each other. Our souls will recognize each other, but frequency and personality.
Absolutely. And that's how you're going to know each other. Now, will we physically see each other? Yes. But will there be a differentiate? In other words, what if we're all given the exact same kind of body? Same height, same weight, same color, same everything.
Well, see, just what I know about the Urantia book, I'm pretty sure that's not how it's going to be, because it's so vivid and pictured just like Earth. It's green, grassy fields and lakes and trees. And it's beautiful. You know what I mean? So I just can't see it being us just being so.
I know, but remember this. What if with our new Urantia eyes, even though we're all given gray uniform bodies that look the same, what if our perception through our Urantia eyes can read the soul and imprint that upon the body?
Yeah.
Okay, just like if you were to take a blank wall and project a nature scene onto the wall, or project a science fiction scene onto the wall. What your eyes see is what's on the wall, but what projects it there is what's in your mind. So yeah,
just kind of like that one thing I just posted where the guy puts on glasses and he can see everything like what it really is. Some people look like skeletons in business suits, or because he can see straight through to people's souls, and then he can just see through the veil. Exactly. So I hope it's like that, and we can see each other truly from who we really are. I think it's going to be like that.
It actually says that.
Oh my gosh. I think, you know what? I think I'm going to send back all 33 books because I don't even need to go that route. Something always kept telling me, just get in the Urantia and stay in the Urantia. All your answers are here. I hear that all the time. Everything that I want to know is in that book. But for some reason, I keep feeling like the book's so big and so intense. And then it's all these political things with the Urantia people I know. And some people want to make it like a Bible, and no one wants to deal with that. And I'm just like, let's just read the book, have general conversations, how it fits into our life. And I found the best group ever in Tampa. So I'm even moving all the way that way just to get closer to them. But it's like people just don't understand. So many new people this book is finding, just like we talked, how that book found me and how that book found you. It fell off the shelf 3 times.
Yeah, let me share something with you here. This is from Harry Luce, and it's in a letter written to Harold Sherman.
Okay.
It is the spirit that quickens. The world's population is not ready and will not be ready for thousands of years en masse to be able to receive. Imagine the gleeful suicides, the madness that would follow the broadcasting of definite assurances of the continuity of life. Now, imagine if somehow we formed this Urantia. First of all, there is no thing in my mind for a Urantia church. Jesus Christ made it perfectly clear that religion is a personal matter between you and the Father. We don't need any intermediaries. We don't need any assistance, all of that. So I hear you with this political crap between the UBs. There's people that want to start a church. There's people that think the answer is just communities. There's Gabriel of Sidonia, you know, who's got his little cult going and all this stuff. The bottom line is each and every one of us has the ability to discover this information, to read it, to peruse it, to disseminate it, and put it into our lives. And when other people that are receptive to it come into our lives, it's our moral responsibility to help them, not to tell them what to think or what to do, but to simply answer questions if they sincerely have them and hope that you make a difference. That's it. We're only here to be difference makers. And, you know, you got to choose who you're talking with very wisely, because to share this information with the wrong people might even confuse them even more, or just make them say, I want to have nothing to do with her. She's nuts.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, my wife has a difficult time. She everything I tell her makes perfect sense to her. Makes perfect sense. But then her religious training comes back and says, but. And then it just throws it all away, because she's not willing to let go of everything that she's been taught out of fear. In other words,
isn't it crazy though how people, even people to the caliber of your wife who has you in the household, and yet they still just can't see. That's why I said this stuff isn't for everybody. And I don't understand how we get picked and chose for this. Look at you and look at me. But yet we talk. The first time we talked for 4 or 5 hours. And it's like we can just flow easily and have great talks and chats. And when you just cleared up everything. So I'm going to get $200 back because I'm sending all the books back because it makes perfectly sense. Yes, there can be reincarnation situations, but that's just not the correct word, because our thought adjuster can process back through and come back for another earthly body vehicle and have that experience, where some people might have a flash of the incarnation previously. So that just makes perfect sense.
Now let me read you just one other expert. This is Harry speaking.
Okay.
I have been in service for a long time, and I am tired. I know that my virility is leaving me slowly, though I have been well preserved. In the very natural course of human events, I will be released in the not too distant future. It does not seem in accord that I should go on to the next dimension without leaving some younger, stronger, more virile mortal, that which has been given me in all these years. Someone on this dimension has to take over my particular duties, and I have been hopeful that it might be you. And yet it is hard and an extracting service. It would take several years before anyone would be sufficiently developed to carry on. And here comes the key. The follower is always chosen by the individual active member, and he is developed through the years by ways which I hope you will one day know. You too will have the right to choose your successor and develop him until he is advanced. And when your time for advancement to the next dimension comes, your successor will fill your place and take your number in the great order. So there are no accidents, Jada. And I don't claim to be anything other than who I am. I don't claim to come from another world. I don't claim to come from another dimension. All I know is what I've learned. And I can only pass what I've learned along and hope that somebody else can take it and put it into their life and take away some of the insanity of our political system, the suffering. I mean, do you realize you haven't been with it long enough? I can't even watch violent television shows. I can't see women being raped on television.
James, I don't even have a TV.
Okay.
You see my living room? This is what I have. Books, a couch, and a window. And if I wasn't out here with you, I'd be at the pool right now reading a book. I don't even have a TV, James.
You're better off without a TV.
Mm-hmm.
Because Dr. Sadler made it very clear that while it's a great honor and it's a blessing to have received the teachings of the Urantia book, he said, sadly, it makes life more difficult, not more easy. Because when you realize the insanity that we are running around in, I mean, look at our political scenario. I mean, isn't it pathetic what's going on? And if you start, when you watch Thrive for the first time and you see what Foster Gamble has discovered about our socioeconomic system and how it's being rigged and manipulated and controlled by a very, very small percentage of people on Earth.
But isn't that when we would talk about the different bloodlines? Because whatever's...
Not necessarily. Let's look at it from 2 points of view.
Okay.
You know there was the Lucifer Rebellion, and you know that Caligastia is still walking around, okay? Mm-hmm. He's not interned, he's not incarcerated, he's not dead. So let's say there's actually good and evil on this planet. And let's just say, for the sake of argument, that good is trying very hard to influence world leaders and scientists and all those things, but bad holds the economic purse strings. Okay, good can't just interfere in the free will of those bad people. Let's just say that in Thrive, basically what he discovers is that all of the money on the planet's being controlled basically by 7 families.
Right.
The Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, okay. So it's in their best interest to make sure that all that money stays in their hands, isn't it? So they put into place puppet leaders, puppet bankers, okay? And they let us stupid people think that they're actually doing us a favor by loaning us money, letting us have bank accounts, own houses, own cars. In fact, if you think about it, the very reason you go to work every day isn't to help other people. It's so that you can have a roof over your head, food in your stomach, maybe a car to drive. You can afford car insurance, you can afford life insurance, you can afford health insurance. These are all the things that I don't think God planned for us to have. Do you?
So you saying that, I don't know if you ever watched my channel, I started there. I started with the Act of 1871, but really it goes way before that. And if you understood what the Boston Tea Party was, you would even have a clue then how everything has just been flipped upside down. As in, they didn't even have enough states to ratify, to pass for the IRS, which is privately owned, as well as the Federal Reserve, which is privately owned. And the whole reason Woodrow Wilson passed this law for the banking system, Federal Reserve, is because that's how he got elected. He already agreed that he was going to pass and start up and establish the Federal Reserve. So I do agree with you wholeheartedly that, but how can't people see that the whole Constitution is not the original Constitution? All that was rewrote. And the word citizen, if we know what that means, and the word person, and all these words that were used in the Amendment 13, 14, and 15, how, if I'm putting or planting seeds, how doesn't anybody pick up a Black Law dictionary preferably 4th or 5th edition, because the other ones have been touched and manipulated, and read for yourselves that this is all bullcrap.
Okay, couple of reasons. Number one, for almost 50 years now, our educational system has been dumbed down. Okay? The onslaught of television and movies has created a society where almost everyone who lives on this earth thinks that life is about things. In other words, when my parents were young and World War II was just ending, the American dream was a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom house in the suburbs. How many people today want a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom house in the suburbs? Nobody. Right. Nobody wants that. That's not good enough. If it doesn't have 4 bedrooms and 2.5 baths, it's not good enough for me. If I'm not driving a Lexus or an Acura, it's not good enough for me. In fact, I must go to the islands every year, or it's not good enough for me. And their children are taught that these are the things that we strive for in life. And so we go out, and I'm not saying you shouldn't get educated, but education just doesn't mean going to college. Education means learning. And we've lost sight of the values. You know, the church has taken a big hit. We've lost a lot of our moral values. And I'm not saying that, you know, the church did a lot. The church has done as much good as it has done bad, you know, for various reasons. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that Jesus's true message didn't get put out correctly.
But you know what? Church and all religions, there's truth in all religions. And I feel like there's whoever could resonate, and actually, what is the saying? If you seek, you shall find. If you come in with that open, receptive mode for like truth, even though you don't know what you're looking for, but you're that vessel that truth can abide in, you will be used accordingly. Hello, look at me.
Yes. But the sad thing about a lot of these religions is now they've become sectionalized. They've become divisive, and they've made up some rules and regulations. And all of those things get in the way of what you just said. In other words, if your preacher or your minister or your pastor just put the word out there on Sunday, and then he didn't make any rules, there was no dogma, nothing to it, a handful of people would get it, and a bunch of people wouldn't get it. And every Sunday they keep coming back. Maybe every Sunday a little bit more would get it. But now let's just take a perfect example. Right now we have a real serious problem with Christianity and the lesbian, gay, transgender issue. Okay. Who said they aren't children of God? Who made them?
But you know what's funny, James? When I told you I saw that big black thing and I ran to the church again and got born again because I didn't even know this whole world existed. So most people will always turn there first because we don't know where else to go when something happens in our lives, basically. Well, I can't speak for everyone, but that's what happened to me. But when I got there, that's when I was the most confined. Like when I used to water fast, I told you I would be led to the spiritual laws, but I would look at the stars and try to even understand, but you can't do any of that in religion. That's numerology, and that's astrotheology, and that's all these things you can't do. Don't be expressive with your body or anything like that. That's when we're judging, is because when you're in religion, you're getting judged. So that's why we judge others, I feel like. And it's the 8th day circumcision is when you can actually come through the tunnel of religion and understand and know that I'm a temple, you're a temple. We are all God's, little g, by quality, not quantity. So now, I don't think people even can grasp that, because me and you speaking right now, this is church or fellowship. We're speaking, you know what I mean? Positively. Everything's God. Everything surrounds me is God relevant anyway, or for some kind of spiritual truth or development. And it's just sad that people get so stuck in religion, because when I was in church, I'm going to Bible study every Wednesday. It didn't take long for me to have my daughter go to the library and start printing off flyers. Matter of fact, I have some. Let me show you. I'm such a fanatic in church because I feel like Jesus is the answer to everything, which he is. Because remember on September 6th when I prayed and I said, just give me a word if this is you, Father. And the word I woke up to was dogma. And that same day I heard Jesus reign is everlasting. These are what I printed. Is it the right way? Oh, here we go.
Well, there you go.
Jesus saves. For God so love the world, repent. I'm passing these out in Daytona Beach. I'm putting these on everybody's car.
Okay.
I had them big, little. I'm doing everything. So I'm going to church. And I'm thinking church members are going to want to be on fire with me and just spread the word of Jesus. Everybody has to know about this. And nobody, a testimony was getting a pay raise at work or so many irrelevant things. And my thing is I woke up today and I have breath in my body and I woke up in my sound mind, right mind, sound, you know what I mean? So I was just sitting here thinking like, okay. So I actually opened the Bible and started reading it from page 1 and walking my kids through it, because there is no way I was not teaching my kids this word for word. And then the Bible is like chicken that's not seasoned. It's still meat.
Yeah.
It's just not seasoned meat. And I just felt like there's no way this can be the story of Jesus. People are dying over this Bible.
All right.
Then I started figuring out who's King James.
Tell me if you can see the difference in what I just printed.
For God so loved the world that he gave it to his only begotten son, that whosoever believe in him shall have everlasting life. Well, let me tell you what I did, James, when I first got in the Urantia book. This is my Urantia folder of stuff I've studied so far. And the first thing I did, James, was I changed my daily prayer, how I address my Father when I first wake up. And I put, our Father in heaven, thy name be hallowed, thy kingdom come, let thy will be done as it is in heaven, so on earth. Give us bread for our needs day to day, and forgive us our offenses as we forgive our offenders. And do not let us enter into temptation, but deliver us from error. Guide us ever upward in the pathway of light. Justify us fully in the day of the great judgment. Make us like yourself in eternal glory, and receive us into your endless service on high. Because thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory.
There you go.
Forever and ever. Because there was no way I could say, how does the original one go? And lead us not into temptation.
But
well, I'm a parent. I would never lead my children purposely on purpose into temptation.
Right. And you know well from the book that Jesus didn't really want to give that prayer to anybody.
I know.
But they kept insisting and insisting and insisting and insisting. And finally, out of frustration, he said, all right, here, take this. So what I'm saying is those two little words that I added to that statement changed. Now think of the concept. For God so loved the world, he gave his only begotten son. So God so loved the world, he gave his only begotten son. That says sacrifice. He gave his only begotten son, a sacrifice. And Christians have taken that and run with it. Well, if he gave his son as a sacrifice, it must be for a reason. What reason could it be? Oh, we're sinners. Therefore, he must have given his son to relieve us of our sins, because we're sinners. Jesus never sinned, right? So he couldn't have given his son because of Jesus's sin. It must have been because of our sin. So they came up with this erroneous concept because two words were left out of the statement. And when you say, for God loved the world, that he gave it to his only son, it makes sense, because this world belongs to Christ Michael. This was his father, this whole universe. His father gave him the free will to create his own creation, which he did. And our earth is part of that free will creation that Christ Michael created. So our world was the Father's gift to his son, not his son the gift to us. Oh yeah, he chose our world. But if you think about it,
go ahead.
It's this whole thing that drives me crazy about sin, sacrifice, and atonement that was carried over from the Old Testament. You know, Christ came here to stop all that nonsense. And unfortunately, he became the latest sacrifice.
But see, I think his battle was even more of a spiritual battle, just because of the rebellion of Adam and Eve. And he had to right wrongs. Not, yes, for us too, but a more just for us to even get through any of the veil of truth that had to have been done, because it's way bigger than just dying for our sins.
Oh, of course it is. I mean, we can put any meaning we want to, and we can hash it over, and you're going to get Christians and UB readers, and everybody's going to have a different concept of, well, we could say that he did sacrifice and that he willingly gave up his life. Well, okay, all right, that's a sacrifice, but it's got nothing to do with my sins. All right, sin is part of our earth. Evil, there has to be sin and evil in order to see perfection. It's like anything. If you only have one color paint, how are you going to make a painting? Right. Unless you're going to make a snowstorm or midnight. Okay? So my point is, error and sin are going to always exist on our planets because it's part of our soul's growth. You can't grow unless you make an error. and you're not going to get any better unless you sin. It's what we do with those experiences, and that's part of karma.
Right.
I was going to read you something here that it would explain what you said. Why are some people born with handicaps and terrible situations? It says here, the intelligence that have to do with the operation of this world have full or partial charge of most of these powers. Some of these intelligences have had earth experiences, but never on the particular planes. Many have never had an experience on this dimension, that is, an experience in the flesh. There are many more without an earth experiences than those with one, and many without an earth experience would very much like to have one. All does not go well at all times in these operations. These are accidents, mistakes, and troubles of different kinds, much the same as on this dimension. And when things occur, the result is felt here and in the usual so-called great calamities of nature. So, our universe is not perfect, and it will not be perfect for a long time. So, you know, shit happens, I guess is the best way you can say it.
But you know what? Out of every message, Edgar Casey, the Urantia book, the Bible, every message you're going to get is going to really basically boil back down to love one another. Love God first and foremost, and love one another as you love yourselves. And that's really the simplest message ever, but it's going to get overlooked any kind of way when people can't even understand. The whole reason any of these books are written is the message of love and just that frequency level of vibration that can change if you actually turn the TV off.
Well, there you go. Now think about it. Let's say these 7 powerful families have the secret to success, and the secret to success is making sure that we don't love each other. All right? We've got individual countries, individual religions. Everybody is scrambling. You know, everybody.
Man, white, gay, straight, black, everything, man against woman, everything you see on TV promotes sex, fear, something. You're not going to see anything. That should make people draw closer to say,
Yeah, but it doesn't, you see, because they're blinded by what they've been taught. You know, when I'll share my experience with you, I grew up in the North in the 50s and the 60s. And in 1968, I moved to North Carolina because I was in the Marine Corps. I wasn't brought up a bigot. I didn't know what racism was until I moved to North Carolina. And when I was in boot camp and through ITR training and all that stuff, I was just a person who I didn't notice skin. I mean, I noticed it, but it didn't have anything to do with what I thought about people. And I was getting a lot of heat from other white guys. And when I finally got to North Carolina and got stationed and moved out into the, to the civilian part of the population, I saw racism for the first time, and I didn't understand it. And, and that's when the shit hit the fan in the 60s. But the reason it's so hard is because when you're a child, let's say I grew up in a bigoted family, and if my father and mother taught me that black people were different from white people, how could I know any better?
Well, guess what, James? How about this situation? Look at me. I don't really look black, white. I don't even know what I am. I was adopted, so ain't no telling what I am. But let's just say I have a son now, and he goes to school, and he's in the 1st grade. I never bring up race as an issue. But let's just say the teacher says, here's paper, cut out pictures of boys and girls. Some were wearing dresses, some were wearing shorts. And you're supposed to write on these pictures, which are just a construction size piece of paper, what you like to do and who you are as a person, right? This is 1st grade. Now, we all know how many different colors construction paper comes in, right?
Right.
Only 2 papers you could choose from for construction paper was dark brown or white, pasty white. And my thing is when I went to the school, my son's the same color as me. And I went to the school and I saw 4 black, brown little kids on the board. And I'm sitting here thinking like, which all the kids here are mixed. You're not going to even really find a dark skinned person. And I couldn't even freaking believe that this teacher had the nerve in 2016 to pick 2 colors for construction paper to say, who do you think you are and who you represent? A dark brown or a white?
That is a little kind of strange because construction pads usually come with multiple colors in them.
And when I'm telling you, James, she picked for the kids to choose either a dark brown or a white, as
Okay.
white as paper.
What message does that tell you about her
Mhm.
intelligence level? Okay. And this is, as long as we keep ourselves separated, this is the issue. If we all have one God and we're all his children, then I guess it really doesn't matter what color you are, because you're only, I think I posted, I forget to who, somebody made a comment and I said that the same heart beats under every color skin.
The same blood flows under every color skin.
Yeah, well, the same.
When you're in the hospital, or if somebody's in the hospital and they need a blood transfusion, are they going to say, is this from a white person's blood?
Well, they used to.
Oh my gosh, that's terrible.
But I'm telling you, they did used to do that. There used to be people that believed, in my lifetime when I was a young man, especially in the service, I remember somebody needed a blood transfusion. And they asked, well, whose blood is it? What difference does it make? Blood is blood. It doesn't matter at all. What are you all of a sudden going to become a different person? See, this is all ignorance, Jada, and it's been it's a perpetuated ignorance on our society. Why is it that more people can tell you the size of Kim Kardashian's ass than who's vice president of this country? And as long as we keep our children stupid, as long as we keep them detached from all of these political errors, I mean, come on. So much of what's been passed is to make our politicians rich. All right. They tell us that we're doing this for you. Well, if you're doing all these good things for us, why are things getting worse and why are you getting richer?
So I have a question.
Yeah.
Why is it, because before, I'm 40, and when I was 38, that's when I had the panic attack. I don't know if my computer's lacking, but why is it that after a situation happened in my life like that, or even if that was the case or not, I don't know, why is it that now I can see, and I discovered 9/11, and I discovered the circling the square and code 9 and the Fibonacci ratio, and the everything in this world is pi and phi, and I recognize GMOs now, and how does anybody else really recognize that you're not even eating fruit with seeds and the importance of that? Why do some of us come to this point where we can just see a whole bigger picture? Why is that just some elect people? Because there's only a few circle, and you found me. So like attracts like. So my whole circle gradually changed, but it was no love loss. Anybody that I used to know since 2012. He's been working on that since 2012 to wean out everybody out my old life. And now everybody that I meet now are people like you.
Yeah, well, that's
not that you're anybody's, you know what I mean? You're still human like we are, but just that we can have a conversation and understand each other to a point.
Because they say that, what did it say? The spirit quickens. Some people are going to go through this life never caring one bit about it. In other words, my wife still watches TV shows where people are slicing people's throats and killing people, and I can't watch that stuff. It's just something I can't do. And I discuss this with, Flora, that I read with every Wednesday. And she's the same way. Why would you invite into your life these negative images? In other words, does it make you feel better to see these things knowing that they're not happening to you? Does that make you feel safe and secure? Or even worse, are you watching them because you find it entertaining? I mean, just think, 2,000 years ago, Romans were putting Christians in the arena and allowing them to be eaten by lions. And they were paying admission to do that. And they were also paying admission to see gladiators slay each other. How could we imagine being civilized under those circumstances? And yet we are no further ahead than we were 2,000 years ago. We still pay money to see people beat each other up. We still, as soon as the news comes on and there's an explosion in an airport, we don't go to turn on the news because we want to grieve for the people. We want to turn on the news and see how bad it was. Do you see? But there is a slow awakening in humanity. The message of Jesus Christ is getting through to some people. And the Urantia book, I believe, came here to help that along as a catalyst. And anyone who's read the book they just can't deny that they've been changed in some way, shape, or form.
Just the first page, because you know what? Just like Edgar Casey said, and that's probably why I resonate with him so much too. And remember,
yeah, honey,
there is still, are you on the phone?
Why? Where are you going? Oh, no. No, I don't. Yeah, no, I don't need anything. I feel a lot better, honey. My sore throat went away. Yeah, I'm all right, honey. Oh, don't get excited when you come in the door if you hear a woman's voice. I'm talking to Jada.
Tell her I said hi.
Oh, say hi, Jada.
Hi.
Okay, honey. No, the last time she got caught off guard, she heard a woman's voice, and all she could think, "Oh my God, what's he doing?"
But I don't even really remember where I was at, but I do remember that one thing that I knew coming through the Bible when I read it page for page for page, and this wrathful God, I just couldn't understand or ever grasp that, even though I didn't even know who Jesus was till I was 33, or the word repent till I was 33. I just couldn't, for some reason, swallow that God was so wrathful and vengeance. So I came across the Urantia book, and the first 60 pages, or the first 30-something pages after you get through the intro part,
Yeah.
someone said, just keep going, because that intro part is kind of tedious. So I kept going, and it was all about God. How mercy, just everything good about him. That just felt so good in me that I knew that he was so merciful. He just so much love. That's all he wants. I could only imagine his heartache and his pain, just seeing this hate. And thank God there's some of us that can at least talk and change the love frequency. And then I came across Edgar Casey, and the first thing I read last night about him was God is so merciful, and his message really is about God too, and how much love. And when we say the word reincarnation, it is actually another incarnate from our thought adjuster coming back around if the body refuses to move on. So it could still be those situations and senses. So really, I'm just so at a good spot right now. I'm just really, this is what I want to do, James. I want to get with you more. You know, we're sporadic and nothing has to be planned. And I definitely want to see if there's some kind of way we can do a Wednesday meeting, because I feel like just going through the book together and talking, I don't know if we can do it on Skype or Google Hangout. It doesn't have to be recorded.
Right.
But just to actually, I think if it was recorded though, and people could actually hear the book and see it in this kind of way, it's something you have never seen before.
No,
because I'm so lonely over here. I listen to the audio recording because you can find it on YouTube, and I listen to him read it as I read along. So it's like my own little study group. Right. Because I get more when I hear other people read, or sometimes it resonates if I do read, and then I hear it back. I'm like, that was even said. You know what I mean? So maybe we can do something where we can start our.
That's what I'm thinking for the future, because there's other people like that are isolated, and that, you know, it's a good thing. Like I have my physical study group, and you have your physical study group, but that's just local and it's limited. It's rather limited. So I agree. Hey, hon, come here. I want you to see who you're talking to.
She remembers me.
I don't know. I don't know.
So yeah, let's see if we can, because I know two people too that do the Urantia group that I try to talk to as well. But since you've been through it 6 times, something that I couldn't lead somebody to, because my title is #wing it, and I try and help where I can, but we definitely cross paths for a reason. And I just know that you're so knowledgeable, especially with the Urantia book. So maybe we can even just say, well, we're going to do something Tuesdays, or if we want to do something Thursday at 9 o'clock, we can just post it and people can join in if they want, and we'll just read through whatever papers we decide to read through. And if it's not, what's to lose? It'd be a one-on-one with me and you, because I don't get enough out of just going to my group once every 2 weeks.
See, that's the thing a lot of people don't understand, that, you know, even Cindy says, well, you have your study group every week. It's not enough.
That's not enough for me. When I get done with you, I'm going straight to the book. Seriously, because you know what? All my answers I know are in that book. And if we could just kind of bring that book to life, and we don't have to do anything to promote that book. I don't want anyone to find that book that's looking for it. I want that book to find people. So if we're just having a conversation and reading through, you see 4 people are viewing. I only have 50 friends on my thing. So my thing is if we have a conversation, just me and you, who cares who else joins in? If it's meant for somebody, they'll find it. But this information will be out there that little old Jada and James, who've been to the war, have the same kind of interests and are on the same page. Do you see what I mean?
No, I know what you're saying, and we're going to get there. Just got to give it some time. I've been putting out a few feelers also. So all we got.
You know what I'm going to do with you, because I know you always like to say patience is a virtue. if I'm feeling, and I know that you have time to chat because your mornings are good for you, and it's 9 o'clock in the morning, I'll say, well, let's go over paper 160 or wherever we're at. Cause I like the papers 100s. I want to start back at paper maybe 94 or paper 101 and just go through that. Cause I feel like that's the best part to start, or even the beginning about God.
Right.
And then I'll just text you and send you a hangout, and it'll just be an automatic thing, just like this.
Okay.
With
No.
other people. And I'll post it on the Urantia group to see if anybody else wants to join. Because Antoinette, Pato, all those people.
Right.
They're just so, I had a meeting with them and it was just great.
Nope,
So
I agree.
I just feel like we'll just do it that way.
Done deal. We'll figure
Okay.
it.
Well, I know your wife's home and I really just wanted to touch on, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, you're right, because we got to do lunch.
Yeah. And I just really wanted you to clear up reincarnation, and you did that within 10 minutes. And I'm just so grateful for you. And I can't wait till we chat again. So I'm going to end this right now, and we're gone now, but not forever.